In this section, we take a careful look at how creative destruction creates progress and how you can surf the waves of change to your benefit. The economist Joseph Schumpeter, who invented the term creative destruction, put innovation and trade at the center of the capitalist evolutionary process, all happening to please the consumer. The essence of capitalism is change. The capitalist process incessantly revolutionizes the economy from within, destroying the old one and creating a new one. I'm going to read something from Joseph Schumpeter here, and you can think about life before the railroads. Quote, individual innovations imply, by virtue of their nature, a big step and a big change. For example, a railroad through new country not yet served by railroads, as soon as it gets into working order, it upsets all conditions of a location, all cost calculations, all production functions within its radius of influence, and hardly any ways of doing things which have been optimal before remain so afterward. Capitalism is a constant gale of creative destruction, Schumpeter said. Change is an ongoing process, and it's truly relentless. It's really important to understand this. Most people don't, and they spend their life fighting change instead of using it to launch their lives and careers. You're going to live in a capitalist economy, hopefully. It's going to constantly force you to stay on your toes and be prepared to change, to mutate, to be flexible. The media gets this all wrong. Politicians get it wrong. Almost everybody gets it wrong these days. And we're constantly fighting job loss when it's necessary for progress. To get ahead, we must make jobs count, not just count jobs. The Pony Express. Wow, what a huge waste of human potential it was to carry a few letters across the continent on a horse for 10 days. Yeah, it's a job, but what have you got to show for it? Today, we send hundreds of billions of emails daily at almost no cost to us. Try doing that with the Pony Express. There would be nothing left for anybody else to do. Thankfully, we've moved onward and upward. The turn begins with consumers' long list of needs and wants. Taken all together, the needs and wants of the masses create an incentive for each of us to profit from inventing something that we will all like and buy, such as a mobile phone. The mobile phone brings consumers a higher living standard, but also new firms emerge to produce the mobile phones. In order to pull the workers out of existing jobs, those firms have to offer the workers something attractive. What do they offer them? Higher pay, shorter work weeks, and better working conditions. So people also benefit in those ways. And that's one round upward out of many in the capitalist evolutionary process that incessantly lifts our living standards. You can't have the permanent upside, however, without going through the temporary downside. It's all through the often painful process of creative destruction that our living standards rise. You get all the things that make our lives better. More consumption and wealth, shorter work weeks, better working conditions and interesting careers instead of boring jobs. You get more variety and choice in what we buy, and even customized products, plus better health, safety, and security with longer lifespans, and other things that matter to us, such as a better environment and greater human flourishing. This all happens through the process of creative destruction, precisely because it frees up the most valuable of all productive resources, human labor, to go forth and provide all the important things that we want. In 1790, 95% of us worked on farms, yet food was still a scarce commodity. We worked 76.5 hours a week just to put food on the table, and we had almost no time left to produce any of the other things we wanted in life. Today, just 1.5% of us work on farms, yet fat has replaced starvation as our number one dietary concern, and we export food to the rest of the world. As we moved away from the farms, we moved to the factories, and America's industrial age went into full swing, reaching a peak in 1953 when nearly 40% of us had jobs in manufacturing, mining, or construction, which we call industry. But all along also, the service sector has been growing, and today it has become by far the largest part of our labor force. Today, 86% of us work in service jobs. Doctors, lawyers, and dentists, engineers and computer programmers, teachers and professors, salespeople, taxi drivers and scientists, actors, writers, truck drivers and mechanics, biologists, accountants, real estate agents, chefs, financial planners. In our highly advanced economy, the list of service jobs goes on and on. We're down to just 12.5% of us who work in industry, which breaks down at 7.9% in manufacturing, factory jobs that is, 4.3% in construction, and 0.4% in mining, like pulling oil from the ground. We've lost nearly all of our agricultural jobs, and now our industrial jobs have shrunk to a small percent. So many people have had to find something else to do other than producing goods, namely producing services. That's a good thing, not a bad one, because people also have a long list of needs and wants, shown on the left in the first column here. Let's go back to 1790. With 95% of us working on farms back then, only 5% of us were left to produce all the other things we wanted. So we were poor. The only way to get more of our needs and wants satisfied was for us to get better at making the stuff that was high up on our list, but making it with us not being there. Then recycle the workers that were freed up from that round of progress to go forth and make the other things that we need and want that were further down our list. The proper role of a healthily functioning economy is to destroy jobs, then replace them with new and better ones. And American capitalism has done just that. It has destroyed the jobs of thousands, if not millions, of farm workers, blacksmiths, secretaries, and so on, and then replaced them with thousands, indeed millions, of airplane pilots, engineers, medical technicians, electricians, computer programmers, actors, pharmacists, and so on. We came out way ahead. Downsizing, outsourcing, layoffs, job cuts, even being fired sometimes. This is not the economy failing. It's the way the capitalist process moves society's most valuable resource, us, human labor, to new, more important, and better uses. One of the best movies out there that depicts the conflict and emotional turmoil of creative destruction is Other People's Money, starring Danny DeVito and Gregory Peck. These scenes show a shareholder meeting at New England Wire and Cable and get right to the question of creative destruction. You can find it on YouTube in two parts. First is the plea to shareholders by company's CEO Gregory Peck for them, the shareholders, to save the company and let it keep making wire and cable even though it's losing money doing so. Part 2 is also there on YouTube and shows Danny DeVito, who plays Larry the Liquidator, simply telling the shareholders that the wire and cable business is dead, like it or not, because of the invention of a far superior new technology, fiber optic cable, and there's no changing that. However, the investors can take the money that they now have invested there and change the business to do something else rather than continue pouring their money into a losing enterprise. In this movie, you'll see the inescapable drama that comes with the churn and the destruction of a firm that is supporting many people's lives. You'll see also the capitalist who invests money and bear the risk of losing it, the risk taker. You'll also see the entrepreneur, played by Danny DeVito, who has the foresight and courage to change with the times, but in doing so, risk other people's money and some of his own, but knowing that it's mainly his reputation for being right that's on the line. This movie came out in 1991 at a time when America was booming, yet millions of people were being laid off. I collected a lot of the newspaper headlines of this 1991 to 95 boom, just so people could see the churn in action. So let's look at these for a minute. I'm not going to say much, but I'm just going to take you through it so you can feel what it must have been like for the workers affected back then. But I repeat, this was a time of economic boom. If you've never heard of these companies, well, remember, this was not long ago, and most of the people who had jobs at these companies, many of them being big companies back then, well, those people surely knew who the companies were. MCI slashes 3,000 jobs. Compaq Computer Company eliminates 8,000 positions. Quaker Oats, 1,200. Burlington, 500. Intel cuts 3,000 jobs. EDS, about 1,400. Halliburton, 500 to 700. And Delta Airlines cuts a fifth of its workforce. Arco cuts jobs nationally, and 40% of the jobs at Oryx were cut as it sold to Kerr McGee. 3,000 jobs cut at First Plus Financial Group. Chevron, 1,500. IBM, 1,100. Lockheed Martin, 12,000. Nortel, 8,000. Burlington Northern, 1,400. DuPont, 4,500. Nabisco, 4,200. Otis Elevator, 2,000. Then Halliburton cut again, 1,200 this time, as did First Plus, which this time laid off half their workforce. Mobil, 4,700. American Airlines, 5,000. Merrill Lynch, 3,400. AT&T, 15,000. Procter & Gamble, 15,000. Citigroup, 10,000. Alcoa, 1,600. Delta, 2,000. GTE, 17,000. Xerox, 10,000. Heinz, 2,000. During the 1991 to 1995 period, the top 10 corporate downsizers, just 10 companies, cut 850,000 jobs all total. If you were one of those workers who lost their jobs, surely it had to hurt you and your family. How do you go home and say to your family, I lost my job? It's horrible. And the media seizes on this human interest story. But one thing the media doesn't bother to point out, though, is that during this period, the nation's unemployment rate fell. The economy created enough new jobs to replace the ones lost, and then even more for the new people entering the labor force and those moving in from abroad to bring the unemployment rate down. America is really good at recycling workers who lose their jobs back into the labor force and into employment. And most of the time with a better, higher paying job. It happened to me personally every time. Each green row here is a period of economic expansion. Each yellow one is a recession. Netting out all of the economic ups and downs, U.S. employment rose by 61 million people over these 40 years. For every 100 jobs lost, 108 were created. And look what happened to productivity, shown in the rightmost column here. It rose from a starting value of 100 in 1979 to 206 by 2018. That's a 106% increase in productivity. We'll come back to productivity in our next segment. So if something like this happens to you, as it has to me and so many people, try to remember, It has happened many, many times before. So don't take it personally. Chances are you didn't do anything wrong. It's not you, it's not the company's fault, it's not the economy failing. Probably somebody somewhere did something right, like inventing fiber optic cable, and you just happened to work in the now obsolete wire and cable business as shown in other people's money. Whether it's an elevator, an auto, an iPhone, or any of the other products shown here, all cost some people their jobs. But they created jobs too. And they improved people's lives. Believe me, there is a lot more creative destruction coming. But put aside your fear and think of the opportunity it brings. How can you best position yourself to benefit from change? People who think this way become the moguls of tomorrow. Next time, we'll talk about the important lessons from the churn. See you then.